Hello, I'm Jennie Rayment and this is the Easy Quilting 45-degree triangle. This triangle, which is a multi-size template made of clear, thick acrylic, ideal for you to be able to fussy cut and see through, has excellent markings on it. It also has a seam allowance marked down the edge. Now, this template can be used to make a variety of designs. One of the designs, the classic design I should probably say, is something called the kaleidoscope. And if we look at the pieces of work behind me, I've used this template for making the kaleidoscope design. And you can see that there's a diamond round here with a star in it. If we look more clearly at the one block I've got over here, you can see the star stands out very easily in the red, with the centre green section going round another star. And they're little flicks off the corner of further fabric. It's an excellent template for creating a lot of different shapes, designs and patterns. You can use the same template also for making an 8-pointed design very similar to something called the Dresden plate. This can be applied to a background fabric. So how do we use the template? Well, the template, as I said, is multi-sizes. This will cut any size of triangle from 1 inch up to 6.5 inches. If you prefer, there is a little mini 45-degree triangle. So if you've got a jelly roll, the mini 45-degree triangle will fit the jelly roll absolutely exactly. When you come to cut out the template, it cuts out with almost no waste of fabric at all, very little waste. Unwrap the template and find the little book of instructions. That will explain to you in 3 different languages, in English, French and Spanish, how you can cut the various shapes. But let me show you. So taking this particular template, decide on the size of strip you're going to cut. You might want to cut a strip that is the entire size of the template. You might want to cut a smaller strip. This is a multi-sized template. If you're cutting one the full size of the template, you will need a 6.5 inch strip. Of course, the Easy Quilting ruler is absolutely ideal because it measures 6.5 inches. So having cut a 6.5 inch strip, if you place the template on the fabric, you can cut up one side. Now, you never cut away from you, or you never cut towards you, you always cut away from you. So turn the fabric over, replace the template and cut again. So this is using the whole template. If I preferred though, I can cut a smaller one by cutting something like a 4.5 inch strip. And now you place the template on the strip, realign the template with the lines on the template aligned with the edge of the material, cut up one side, flip the fabric over and cut again. So the size that you cut is entirely and utterly up to you. How you could use the pieces is very simple. Suppose I were to cut 8 shapes. The size of the shape is actually irrelevant. I've got 8 here that are cut using the full size of the template. If I lay my 8 out, you'll see they make an octagonal design. And here is the octagonal design, alternating the colours. You could have 8 different colours if you wish, or indeed you could use a strip of striped fabrics. I will show you that in a moment. So the way to piece the design will be to sew the pieces together in sets of 2. So I would take these 2 pieces, put them right sides together and stitch. Repeat with each of the sections. So I end up with 4 sections the same, and they'll look something like this. I like to press my seams open and flat, and that is where the Easy Quilting seams press device is extremely good for getting that seam open and not putting any stress on the fabric. If you were to take 4 sections, you could sew them together to make the design, and I would suggest that you stitch 2 together to make one half, you sew 2 together to make the other half, and then you join the 2 halves together. So it's going to look something like this when you've done it. One half there, one half there, and then we sew the 2 together. Once you stitch the 2 together, you then got the job of adding the corners. And this is where you'll need to cut some triangles for the corners. And the Easy Angle quilting template is exactly the right tool for using on the corners. Cut your triangles for the corners, add 1 triangle to each of the corners. When you have done that, as I've done on this little sample here, this is where the Is It Square is absolutely the ideal tool for putting on and squaring the corners off. So you can take this template, lay it onto the block and cut it so that all the edges of the block are absolutely straight. And look how the line runs down the center, and I can make certain that everything is either parallel or square. Once you've finished it off, you can then sew the blocks together. If you put 4 of them together, you could get something like the quilt we've got behind me, this one hanging on the wall here. If you choose to make it out of a striped section of material, because there's no reason why you can't make it out of stripes and cut your pieces out of a stripy fabric, you could put those together to make a rather nice spider's web. And this indeed could be used on a quilt, it could be used on a tablecloth, it could be used absolutely anywhere. But if you didn't fancy doing it just as it is, there's no reason why you can't take the shapes and turn them into a design that looks like this, ready for applique. This is done by cutting the pieces the size that you like, folding the straight edge in half, that's the shorter side, stitching along the shorter side with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, as we have here. I would clip the end off the seam, just to reduce bulk in the seam, so take the end off the edge there, press the seam open and flat, and turn the block right side out. You will end up with a shape that looks like this. If you were to stitch 8 of them together, you could end up with a very nice block that can be used as an applique and can then be laid onto any background fabric and simply applied in place. So the Easy Quilting 45-degree template, be it the big template or it is the little mini one, has a lot of opportunities for all sorts of designs, from your kaleidoscope to your appliqued star. And indeed, there's no reason why you couldn't consider using it for perhaps bunting.